still can't get over the fact that if you give those hollow chocolate bunnies, you bite it in the ass and it just falls apart. Like somebody blew
And
it up.
sorry for the technical difficulties, guys. Welcome to another edition of Soul Tree Radio in the Raw here on Facebook Live, and we're also on X, and we're also on uh, um, or we're also on YouTube as well. Tony McLean alongside Reggie Howe and Michael Lewis Ingram, as we, just like everybody else, getting ready and preparing for the draft. And I'm actually, I got the draft on one TV, and I got the Knicks game on another. So if you
What's the
see me
score?
looking down and looking up, I'll be a little bit all over the place. But what's up, guys?
Now,
What's the
T, I
Knicks
got to
score?
ask you about your Knicks. Your Knicks gonna be able to win tonight, or what? Or will Tom Thibodeau be
Well,
on a
they're up
hot, smoking
33-30.
train
It's
out of
very
it?
early. They've already had like a little scuffle. More so just guys pushing each other, saying, hold me back." But it's,
Hold me back.
yeah,
They got a Donnybrook already.
yeah,
They got
yeah.
roller derby
Well,
already.
they're only about a stone's throw away from that Joe Louis statue in the middle of Joe Louis's fist in the middle of downtown Detroit. So I guess they wanted to try to show a little, but it's gonna be, I know it's gonna be a tough series. No doubt about that. But clearly tonight is going to be dead. And one of the reasons why we're on a little early is because of the draft. And taking a look. There's a huge crowd at Lambeau Field outdoor. I guess so far the weather there
More money, more money,
hasn't
more
been
money.
Hey,
pretty
look.
much. And
Every penny
again,
got them.
Hey, if you need
well,
alcoholics,
you
you
know,
know where to find them. Right there at Lambeau Field. They get good and drunk tonight.
well, and the thing is, this is, the draft has basically become an event in and of itself now, where they're able to literally, basically have this sort of um, Elmer Gantry type show where they're basically they're at different venues. I believe next year it's going to be in Pittsburgh, so that'll add to it. But you know, as we've said so many times, especially going into the draft, the only people who are lying to you more than the government this week are NFL officials and NFL media, because pretty much, pretty
Goddamn.
much after Cam Ward becomes the first pick for the Titans, it's a crapshoot. It's really a lot. There's been a lot of speculation, over speculation, over what we're used to. That
Hey, hey, hey,
the,
T, I want to ask you a question. Because you and Mike and Gary have been on this from day one, from Cam Newton to God knows Lamar Jackson. Why in the ham sandwich all of a sudden is Joe Sanders public enemy number one? When Johnny Manziel was snorting coke and drinking liquor, nobody said anything about that. But yet all of a sudden, Shador Sanders, because he's a confident young black man, and oh, by the way, blasphemy Sanders, how dare he all of a sudden think that he could be an NFL quarterback drafted in the first round? I'm even hearing that Pittsburgh might pass on him. That God knows they need a
yeah,
quarterback.
it's the scrutiny and over scrutiny of Shadur Sanders. Unfortunately, we've seen this way too many times. I did a Facebook Live yesterday, basically saying what what is when Eli and Archie Manning basically held their draft status hostage. Everyone was fine with that. No one had a problem with it. Now remember, about a year ago at this time, everybody was saying, "Oh, Dion's going to leave and he's going to go coach his son," and all this other stuff. There have been, think about the narrative with Shador from a year ago till now. The one constant, this is like Lonzo. Well, this is like,
Don't forget John Elway.
yeah, but
John
see,
Elway did the
I'm
same thing
looking at
too.
it more for like the family angle because, see, again, we saw this, we saw this in the NBA where everybody went after the ball kids because of the dad. We saw this past year with LeBron and Bronny, where people were critical of that. And the thing is, let's be totally honest here. Most of the time, and we've heard all the shenanigans over the years in regard to these NFL guys
Yep.
over scrutinizing and even out and out lying on these kids. We had a situation years ago where GM from the Dolphins literally, called, basically he asked Des Bryant if his mama was a prostitute. You wouldn't do
Right.
that.
Is your
You
mama
wouldn't do
a
that
hoe?
if it's your wife. Yeah. And I think the thing that's so bothersome, at least for me, and I want to get all, and I definitely want to get all thing as well. Even with the emerging of more black quarterbacks in this league, even with um, the rise of more coming, the NFL still has this double standard in regarding how they evaluate players, especially black quarterbacks. And my thing is, me personally, I'm so tired of having to, in a sense, do this every year, where we say somebody, when you hear, oh, this guy's dropping, and all for no reason, and then you have anonymous quotes from basically cowardly folks
Yeah.
in the front office.
Hey, T, how much money do you think they costing him and by the smear
Well,
campaign they
it,
doing
it,
to
it
him?
depends on, I can't, let's put it this way. You got to figure, and Mike uh, probably has a better idea of this. The number one pick is going to make X amount of money. The number two pick is going to make X amount of money. Third, fourth, fifth, depending on how where he goes. It's literally, there's going to be money taken out of his pocket pretty much after every pick. Now, most of your draft pundits look at him as the second best quarterback coming out. Cam Ward is looked upon as the consensus number one. But every year, what winds up happening is when you have two, maybe three black quarterbacks that are in the top, all of a sudden there will be this white quarterback that comes out of nowhere,
Got
and is
that right.
and then they're told that this guy's going to be a generational quarterback. I mean, we were told about this about with Blaine Gabbert. We
Right.
were told about this with Josh Rosen.
Yep.
Lord knows, I guess Mitchell Trubisky should be in the Hall of Fame right now
Oh my God.
after he got this in the third.
Yep.
But again, it goes back to the narrative and how they literally and figuratively want to go after these guys. Mike, just add on to this, Mike, if you can.
It's everything you said. Plus, it's left-handed hate because the first pick, which was Cam Ward, he's going to get a bonus on top of the bonus for being picked first. Everything cascades down from 1 to 32. So the bonus can be as much as 10 to 15 million rather from the top to the bottom. And the very last 30 and 30, 31, 32, the end of the roundup, he's getting at least a $5 million bonus. But for the most part, it's the luck of the draw and the luck of the fans and the fame. Cam Ward has shown, at least on tape, he's better than everybody else at the position, and they have no chance, and they have no proof, rather, that he's worse than what they expect him to be. He's the best, and because of that, he gets picked.
Sure, sure, and and he's legit. There's no doubt. But
Yes.
even already, even with Ward, you still have folks that are um that are saying,
Well,
maybe he's
you
not the
got
best
to remember,
quarterback.
ever since Cam Newton and probably even before, There were quarterbacks whose skills were minimized. You know, as a matter of fact, Doug Williams' brother Mike Williams had a stronger arm than he did. But unfortunately, he never got that kind of call. We talked about the quarterback from Grambling, who was only 6 feet and change, but he got a 40 on the Wonderlic test. He should have been in the he should have been at least holding a clipboard somewhere. Did he ever get a shot? No. And it's because he was the wrong complexion for the collection.
Yeah. It's bothersome. It's very, very bothersome that after all these years, we're basically dealing with the same, stereotypes. We're dealing with the same narrative of what these guys, again, it's more about what these guys can't do as opposed to what they can do and what they have done over the years. I remember one of the last drafts that we physically covered back at Radio City when Steve McNair came out at number 3 overall. First thing out of everybody's mouth is, well, he's going to have to relearn everything he learned in college. Now, mind you, he was the all-time leading quarterback in NCAA history the day that he went number 3 overall to the then Houston Oilers. But again, when you're dealing with these racial double standards and everything, it just because it's a problem for them, not for the player. I think my only thing with Shedeur is I'd like to see him put on some weight. I'd like to see him and Travis Hunter to be quite honest.
Well,
but
anyway, just from the sheer fact that he's going to be going up against grown men, he's going to get grown man food, grown man whatever. He's going to get treated like a real person, and it's because he's going to be at another level now as far as the whole process is concerned.
Yeah, the speed. There's the speed factor. There's the size factor. The crazy thing is he might be under a line that was worse than the one that he was at in Colorado. Believe it or not, as we bring in third member of our team, Gary Norris Gray, it's I think he's going to be. I think he'll be okay. Well, and look, there's an adjustment with every rookie. Now, even last year with the great season that Jaden Daniels had, first couple of games, he had to feel it out. But once he got a feel for it, he showed out. And he had argued. When you can get your team within a game of the Super Bowl in your rookie season, that speaks volumes. No quarterback's ever done that. No quarterback. No, there's no Hall of Famer, no non-Hall of Famer did what Jaden Daniels did last year. And Daniels probably wasn't even half as hyped going into it as Caleb Williams. And Williams had to make the adjustment as well. Again, but you saw where the talent was there. But again, when you go to when you go to a lesser team, this is the kind of stuff that happens. But Gary, we were just talking basically about, unfortunately, the continued double standard that we see the black quarterbacks go through in regard to evaluation, and the overly stuff that Shedeur Sanders went through.
Yeah, last week Shedeur Sanders was number 3, 1, 2, and 3 in the draft, and he dropped down to 21. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, man! And they're doing it again. They didn't do it again. And Shedeur Sanders is a good pocket passer.
We know.
You want a pocket passer? You got one. Now you drop him to 21. Let me get out of here.
Well, Gary, let's take what Gary just said. Shador was up as three. He was up as high as three, and now they're trying to say he may even go out of the first round.
Yep.
They're going to try to take money out of his pocket in any way possible. And as of right now, if you went from 3 to 21, you're talking about a drop of 5 to 10 million in bonus money.
Absolutely.
Last night, I didn't Xfinity Sports Radio. And Xfinity Sports Radio, you know what they said? They're scared
I can imagine.
they're scared of Deion Sanders. What is Deion Sanders got to do with this? And that kind of stuff just pisses me off because Deion Sanders is the father. It had nothing to do with his son.
Mm-hmm.
It's cowardly. It's, to me, it's cowardly, especially these guys that make these comments with no attribution or anything. You know, it's talking about how, it was the worst, pre-draft interview I've ever had, and all this other stuff. You know, I go back to something that I always talk about. If you don't like the kid, just say that. Don't play this whole thing if he can't play. The kid can definitely play. I think he'll be fine. I think he's going to be a very, very good pro. Now, what's funny is they'll try to make it out like, he's not going to be a Hall of Famer. We're not asking him to be a Hall of Famer. If he happens to be a Hall of Famer, so be it. Great. But if he doesn't wind up being a Hall of Famer, but the thing is, they're so quick to want to. I mean, you literally are already having people calling him a bust before he even plays a game. Now, the little bit of NFL coverage I watched this week, I watched Kurt Warner, and Kurt Warner was saying, "Look, with any quarterback, there's going to be an adjustment in the league."
Mm-hmm.
And he basically said, he's basically saying what we're all saying here.
Right.
I think he's going to be a lot's going to have to do with where he goes and how soon they want to do. Because see, the thing about basically tonight is every kid who gets drafted tonight, for the most part, unless they're just out and out terrible, are going to be given multiple opportunities to flourish. Mitchell Trubisky's already, we talked about Trubisky a few minutes ago. Trubisky, I think, is on his third or fourth team already. But the thing is, people will, they will literally keep him around just so they can't say he's a bust. Now it's the sort of thing where now, and then I go back to Jamarcus Russell. Now, Jamarcus Russell, did not help himself at all in the league. Now, there were other extenuating circumstances as well, but they will always make it out like, worst bust ever, even though Ryan Leaf is still roaming the earth. I don't get where he's worse than Ryan Leaf, but that's a whole other. But see, they're so quick to bury these black kids in regards to the draft. It's especially, and I don't know which is worse. And Mike, I don't know which is worse, the front office or the media. I kind of think it's the front office, to be quite honest, especially in Shador's case.
Oh yeah. Well, look at it this way. Chuck Ely, when he came into the league, he wrote the NFL and said, "I'm not a defensive back. I'm not a tight end. If you can't pick me to play quarterback, kiss my black ass." He said it a nice way, but that's exactly what he said. They didn't pick him, so what did he do? He won the Grey Cup his very first year that he was a pro. And that slipped by everybody, except, fortunately, the people at Johnson Publishing, who wrote about it in Ebony magazine. In addition to the fact that they were the only magazine other than Football News that said that Ely was in first team all league, all college, or whatever finalists.
All
And
American, All American. Mhm.
they would not recognize, I'm saying the College Hall of Fame wouldn't recognize Football News as a magazine. I'm saying this because of the feedback from our black athlete article that spoke about the fact that he was not yet, even to this day, in the Collegiate Football Hall of Fame, even though he is the only untied, undefeated quarterback in collegiate football history.
Oh, surprise,
Yeah.
surprise, surprise. The Tennessee Titans just drafted Shador.
Say
What's that?
what?
I think that, I thought Tennessee Titans drafted Shador.
No, they're going to draft. No, they've already pretty much said that they're going to draft Ward.
Okay, all right.
I was going to say you had me going there for a second. I was like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. I'm watching the broadcast here, and they're still on the clock now. Unless they're making some late minute trade that we don't know, and on a night like this, when after the first pick, everything is still up in the air.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get a handful of trades. There was a trade earlier today, but it didn't have anything to do with the order of the first round. So, but to me, I guess, and hopefully we'll get Patrick Farrar here before the night's over with. Cleveland has the number 2 pick,
Right.
and they've sort of made it. I guess they've sort of said that they're looking at Hunter. Going number 2,
Yeah.
and considering now they have quarterback issues as well,
Yeah.
but I guess the biggest controversy, not so much controversy, but the biggest question will be, will they allow Hunter to play both to play both sides of the line? It looks like that they've softened their stance on that. And also, Hunter has basically said, "Look, I'm a two down. I can play both sides of the ball."
Yeah, exactly.
And I think, and again, like I said, I'm not gonna lie. I think his best position is definitely defensive back, but he's more than proven what he can do wide receiver wise. And again, it's not a Charles Woodson thing where he played, like a handful of offensive plays. He literally played like I think he averaged like 50, 60 plays a game with Colorado the last
plays a game, but I don't think in anybody's common sense that you can stick him in a place like, say, Denver's Mile High Stadium and have him play 60 snaps offense and defense in that rarefied. You got to be crazy.
Yeah.
You'd be killing yourself and the person, even
and him as well.
Paper. Yeah.
But again, I think you'll be fine. I think you'll be fine. And it's weird, Mike. Usually, leading up to the draft, I stay away from mock drafts because mock drafts to me aren't even worth the paper that they're written on, because a lot of it is, this is a subjective thing. This is not a exact science. Yeah. When a Terrell Davis can be picked in the 6th round, when a Tom Brady can go in the 7th round, when Jim Brown is not even the number 1 overall pick in his rookie year, it just lets you know that that this is not even close to being an exact science. So
you just said it. Somebody, one of these sites, I forget the name of the site, but they do decent football work. Rated all of the 50 what you call overall #1 draft picks since 1975. Peyton, of course, ended up first. Earl Campbell was fourth. Michael Vick was 17th.
Yeah.
I believe Cam Ward was
Wow.
10th. Cam Newton was 10th. But the
Wow.
whole point was there was no way they were going to let a black person be the #1 pick out of those #1 picks. They had to pick the white boy. And this tells you everything about the league and about certain organizations. Now, everybody's speculating a lot about the Giants, and all this stuff started talking about Shador. Now, the white guy from Mississippi, Jackson
Yeah.
Dart,
Yeah.
is
No,
supposed to be the hot pick. He's supposed to be the one rising up the charts. We talked about this last week. It'll be interesting to see if he lands there. If the Giants do what they're supposed to do, they would be smart to take Travis Hunter and pair him up with Malik Neighbors and let Russell Wilson throw to the two of them. That would make sense. But you know, the organization is two-way, and their mindset is we don't really want to give these brothers too much credit. You saw what they did when they got a black GM. They won a Super Bowl, and then they summarily got rid of him because he was too successful. So
Sure. Sure.
I can tell you that was the donuts. They don't give a shit about ultimately what's going to happen. They want to make sure that they pick somebody that everybody will say they'll everybody who they'll say will succeed, but he's got to be the right color.
Yeah,
Sure.
boy.
And
Yeah,
it's not,
boy.
yep, it's now, yes, official now.
Yeah,
Cam Ward, #1 overall pick, going to the Titans. First, I think their first round quarterback since Mariota, right?
Yeah.
Yep, Mariota's. Ironically, Mariota is serving now as the backup for Jaden Daniels down in DC.
Mhm.
And now also earlier this week, the Titans picked up Lockett from Seattle. So he's got himself a very interesting
Yes.
he's got himself a very interesting wide receiver to go with. By the way, there has been a trade now. Jacksonville traded with the Browns for the 2nd overall pick, and Cleveland is now going to be 5th overall. So Jacksonville is now on the clock instead of Cleveland.
Are they going to take Hunter?
Who knows? That's now. See, that's now the draft has started.
I didn't think
Now the draft has started.
I thought Jacksonville was going to jump the Raiders and take the running back from Boise State, Jonty, and that way they would have a so-called Sonic Knuckles backfield with Etienne and Jonty. 1 and 2, literally.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jonty won 2 in college. But now, I don't know. Jacksonville must know something we don't.
Yeah. It's again. You had the feeling that something was going to go down because again, actually, and again, I have to admit, and we were talking about this last week. Is it me or has it been? It's been really, really, really quiet in regards to movement or trades or what have you. I mean, usually, there's all sorts of trades or what have you, but this has been even quieter than usual for going into a draft. So now Jacksonville has sort of spiced up has sort of got the night started a little bit interesting now with this trade.
Interesting. Now, if Jacksonville, because they need everything, actually, they need offense and they need defense. If they go offense and take Hunter, they're going to pair him with the other kid, Brian Thomas, who played really well for them. It was a good pick on his rookie contract. And, or they might they might try to salvage the offensive line. I think when we talk about Super Bowls and copying winning formulas, I said it myself last year. No matter what they say about a back or receiver, everybody wants to build those lines. Now the Eagles did it
Exactly.
with probably one of the best offensive lines we've seen in years. Detroit has a great offensive line. Baltimore has a great offensive line. There are some teams that we know will just win because of the beef they have up front. And everybody is going to be working on beefing up, even if they don't admit it.
And you remember, you got the kid from Penn State, the defensive lineman, the
Bill
linebacker,
Thank you. That's right.
who people are comparing to Michael Parsons. They could go there as well. You know, we get so. Hey, let's be honest. We all get caught up on the offense, and we forget that
Right.
a lot of a lot of teams' fortunes changed when they made a number one guy the overall pick. You know, people forget when the Cowboys made their ascent from 115 to champions. One of the number one overall picks they had during that period of time was Russell Maryland, and it was ironically, it was laughed at when he was picked, but Maryland, needless to say, wound up being one of the cornerstones of that defense for a long period of time. I mean, yeah, you're going to get your offensive players, of course, but there's still a possibility of getting, of getting that defense, getting that defensive guy that can change things. I mean, look, 1981, the Saints had a choice of either George Rogers and a little guy by the name of Larry Taylor. His mama calls him Lawrence, out of UNC. They wound up picking George Rogers, and of course, the Giants changed their fortunes once they got Lawrence Taylor. And of course, and again, the rest is history and everything else. So the pick is in, and Jacksonville is going to select. This is the first pins and needles pick, I think, for the night. Yeah. Goodell is already mentioning the trade. So we'll see who they pick, and Jacksonville is going with. Boy, they drag this out. Oh, they've got one of their former. Now I guess they got one of their former players. I guess that's going to announce the pick and all this other stuff. It's
I can't stand
again. Well, this is remember, this is NFL Idol, guys. You know how it goes.
That's right.
You know how it goes. The only thing different is we ain't got nobody, singing off key, at least not yet. We'll see where it go. We'll see where it goes. But okay.
Okay, Tony, what were we gonna say? Is he in?
Well, about 20 seconds left to go before halftime. Knicks 64, Detroit 53.
Okay. Well, this situation reminds me of what I had for dinner tonight. Now, I had Chinese. I lived in Vancouver for over 10 years. And in Vancouver, you get good Chinese, great Chinese, and fucking awesome Chinese. I've had all three, and they all make my tummy smile. And I got to say, this is the first East Coast Chinese that I've had in a long time that made my tummy smile. So, thank you very much.
And the pick again, Travis Hunter, number 2 overall for the Jaguars.
Somebody got their plan spoiled. So, Travis Hunter and Brian Thomas, that's not a bad combination receiver-wise. Jacob Lawrence has got to be rather happy, or Joseph Lawrence, whatever the hell his name is.
Michael, and more than what do you now? Does he start? Does he start on defense? You think, or does he have to sort of still work his way in?
No, start him on offense. because running the route tree for him would be easier
Yeah.
than learning the tendencies of the receivers he has to face. I would think that Jacksonville would rather he be a weapon. So I would say let him go offense first and let defense creep in.
Yeah, yeah. It's a I think it's a good pick. I think it's a good pick by them because let's face it, they adding star quality right now
Yeah.
and quality star quality is
Mhm.
definitely something that they this is
They need it.
for this is about as nameless and faceless a franchise as you can get. I mean, we can damn near call them the London Jaguars because they play just as many games over in England as they
Yeah,
do as they do in Jacksonville.
that's true. That's true. And they really have no flavor. So this would be a good idea to get somebody who would be kind of a kind of a marquee name. Gary, you were gonna say something. What?
No, I was saying, you in Korea, Korea. I gotta get you some Korean food, man. If you like Chinese food, you love Korean food, my brother.
Oh shit. Here we go. I just saw somebody
Absolutely.
in a pink oh Travis Hunter in the pink.
Yes.
Oh my
Yeah,
good lord.
and now,
Put it this way. I've had to back off the screen a little bit because my retinas are going through it a little bit. But hey,
I was gonna say
I,
where's the
I
who paid the electric bill for that suit? Good lord.
when you go Rick, put it this way. His I think he just blew his bonus on that suit because
Woo!
that thing is bright now. So
right,
as of right now it's the
New York,
New York Giants, and needless to say, the Giants need everything now.
everything.
Now I would think with the kid from Penn State right there, I would think that I would think that that's a no brainer for them
Yeah,
to pick him.
yeah.
They have traditionally always been defense, and they built their pedigree by putting up an outstanding, not a great, but an outstanding defensive.
Yeah, I think I'll do
People for years.
Gardner.
How they need
Yeah.
to defense.
Pick is already in, by the way. So they may have already they may have said, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, when this happens, we're gonna do this. When this happens, we're gonna do this."
Yeah.
So yeah, the pick is already in. So we'll find out in it. But you know how they do. They get what is it? They get 15 minutes between picks.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to add. One thing I wanted to add. There's a kid here in my hometown here from New Haven, Connecticut. Offensive lineman for Alabama is slated to go very, very early. Mr. Booker, who actually left school early, and he's slated to be a number one pick. Offensive lineman in the same mold as a lot of these guys that have come out of Alabama, and just so. There's a lot of local buzz in regard to this. Now we've had local players get picked before, but this is the first time probably maybe ever where we're looking at a kid from New Haven possibly going in the first round. So we're definitely going to keep our eyes and ears on the ground for that.
We like that.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You look. You always, he literally actually grew up in the same project that I lived in. I know some of our friends and relatives actually know the family very, very well. So and they're having a huge party for him here in New Haven. So we wish him well. I hope and see, this is the nice side of draft night, when you see a kid who's really worked hard and has really done his due diligence, and it's and now it's going to reap the benefits. And as we thought, Abdul Carter, third overall, going to the Giants. And look, no surprise. It really shouldn't be a surprise. You know, I'm sure they said, hey, if Carter's there at number 3, jump all on him. Jump all on him.
But that messed up New England's plans because New England was hoping to stack Carter up with their free agent Williams from Philly. So that changes New England's plans altogether.
6'3", 250. He's being compared to guys like Von Miller. And the thing to me that sticks out with him, you know, he's just, you know, fast. And see, that's the thing about football that has changed so much over the years, in a sense, because, you know, back in the day, all the quote unquote skill positions, the guys were always fast and what have you. But now you've got defensive players that are just as fast, maybe in a lot of instances faster. And I think it's the sort of thing where he has the look to be a game changer. And again, I think with the 3 of these guys, they're all are looking to start, barring injury or what have you, on opening day.
I think now this opens the door for the kids from LSU to get the pick for the New England Patriots. New England needs help on the offensive line. They got to protect Drake May, or whatever his first name is. They got to protect.
You're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it would make sense to have a bookend tackle there, looking on his blind side. He's new. He grows with them. And unfortunately, if he doesn't get mentioned, that means he's had a great career, because Tarek Glenn has to be the most anonymous offensive lineman out of all of them. All he did was protect Peyton Manning for a decade, and nobody said shit about how good he was. He had to be good, damn good, to protect him like that.
Absolutely. You know, it's always funny to me, because I used to do the draft analysts years, and it was always funny to me how, you know, you always hear the thing about the skill positions, you know, wide receiver, running back, quarterback, whatever. But to coin an old Keith Jackson phrase, without those big uglies up front, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all what these skill guys can do. If you don't have a bunch of big uglies up there blocking for you, it's it doesn't, you know, it's not gonna do anything. In that same vein, I always and also, this is the sort of thing also where I'm hoping, and I guess they're going to table it for now, but you still have some of these teams whining about the tush push and how they want to get rid of it and all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's you know, it's okay. How do you want to get beat? Would you rather have Saquon Barkley just run past you, or you know, have yourself get blown over by the largest offensive line in all of football? Either way, you're at a disadvantage. But to me, oh man, seriously. I mean, every time that there's something innovative, people want to get rid of it. We saw with the run with the RPO back in the day when Jeff Fisher tried to get rid of it in regards to Colin Kaepernick and others. But now everybody uses it. Even the West Coast offense, which is basically the old Minnesota Vikings offense of the 70s. You know, people try to in a sense, you know, ban it. But see, the league is also the most in a notorious copycat league of all. And that's when everybody and their mama started running the West Coast offense. But my thinking is, why don't some of these other teams come up with their own tush push?
Exactly. Well, it's kind of hard to tush push if your team does not have one of the biggest, if not the biggest, offensive line in the league. I mean, you got all that beef, and they got rid of the biggest one when Mekhi Becton got picked up by the Chargers as a free agent. So they average, say, 6'4" and 330 across from tackle to tackle. That's small, but that's still an awesome situation because you got five guys blocking in unison, arguably the best right side, this side of Art Sheldon and Gene Upshaw in Gordon Malata and Dickerson. And now you got the best right tackle, arguably in the league, in Lane Johnson. Cam Jurgens he went Pro Bowl last year. So 4 of their 5 starters on the line are solid gold. And if their coach coaches up another right guard, he fits back in like he fits like a fin and like a
Yep.
square peg and a square hole. So we got a line. And everybody needs to understand that the Eagles' success can only mean if you do what we did, you'll be successful. If you get a line that's solid gold, you're going to win.
And you said Becton went to the Chargers, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they definitely, put it this way, with the exception of a handful of teams, Eagles included, there's a bunch of teams that could use a quality offensive lineman. That's to me, having a quality offensive lineman is just as good as having a quality quarterback, having a quality wide receiver, because they set, the game is won in the trenches. I mean, how many times do we hear it?
Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. If you're being in the pit, then you're definitely getting things done, especially if you can do it with just your line alone.
Right.
Everybody's making all the noise about the Super Bowl. That's what the Eagles did. Their line beat Kansas City's offensive line. That was the key to victory.
And always come in December, November.
That's right.
Early December, and you have a ground game.
That's true.
Win the game through ground game, and the Eagles did what the Eagles did last year.
That's exactly what they did, bro. And make no bones about it. All that matters to these guys is winning.
Yep.
They did the work.
Mm-hmm.
This thing is something that any offensive line can do. It wasn't like they said, well, let's go out of our way to mess with the NFL. They came up with something, a short yardage play that now is so successful that over 90% of the times it was used, it was successful.
Yeah.
Buffalo started to do the same thing. And over 80% of the times they did it, they were successful.
Yeah.
And now Green Bay, crying like the bitches they are, all of a sudden they're going to be upset because I don't want no ass pushed in my face. That's the
Speaking of that, Patriots just went with tackle Will Campbell from LSU.
There you
go. I'm guessing, like you said, they're looking at this as maybe hope. In their eyes, they're hoping that he can be just sort of like a hog. I'm going back a few years, like a hog Hannah, where you just put him in there and he's there for the next 10, 15 years or so, and you basically that's your selling point. That's your pivoting to getting back into prominence.
It's funny you said John Hannah, Jerry Kramer, Larry Little. There are not that many guards in the Hall of Fame that I can think of. And when you consider all the position players that are in the league, that's kind of messed up that it's only I can't even think of 5 guards on one hand.
Yeah, because Anthony Munoz was a tackle, right?
Munoz is a tackle.
Yeah.
What about the Raider?
Upshaw, that's 4.
Upshaw. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's now I'm trying. Ron Yeri a guard too, or was he another
Yerry's
tackle?
attack. Yerry's attack with the Chargers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It
They're,
seems as though there are more tackles than guards
they are
in
more.
in 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 the Hall of Fame,
Mhm.
which is kind of which is. I mean, you need both. I mean, let's be honest, but it is kind of weird that you don't have as many guards in there, considering some of the great guards that have gone on through history. It's really
You're right.
it's really kind of crazy. Um, while we got a little bit of a lull, wanted to bring up hockey.
Yeah.
Um, now we see, first way, Washington, Toronto, the Kings. Um, they did what they were supposed to do. Basically, they won their home games, and we all know in a lot of instances, series doesn't start until the home team loses.
Yes, sir.
We saw Dallas go into Colorado the other night and win after Colorado turned the favor to them. So
they
yeah,
did. They did. And you said Kings. I had to say, Quentin QB, Quentin Byfield's Kings. Quentin Byfield has 3 goals in 2 games, and the goal brother is showing his ass out. He's on the line with LePierre and Kevin Fiala, and he's part of the top 6 on the Kings offensive front. So way to go, Mr. Byfield, and forgive me for calling you Dustin because I was thinking of my man Dustin Buffalo. So his name is Quentin Byfield, 55 in the program, and he's a badass.
Iowa in a must-win position tonight. They must win. They don't win tonight, it's over.
yeah, it's for the first time in like a long time. It looks like Toronto is putting themselves in a good position to at least at least get to the second round. In this thing, pick is in for the Browns, so we'll have their pick in just a few minutes. And they just started the second half down in Detroit. It's 68-55 New York. About 10 minutes to go in the third.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Go New York,
Yeah,
go.
yeah. It's now trust. Even if they do win tonight, this is still going to be a tough series. Detroit.
Yeah.
I mean, the Detroit is going to be tough. I'm hoping that they get by them. I'm not all the way there yet, but those green meanies are waiting in the next round if they do advance. But again, hey, if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. So we'll see.
Well,
We'll see how we'll see how it plays out. Now Cleveland at 5. Now again, they're another team. Now they already have the best defensive player in the league with Garrett. Do you think maybe they go with the quarterback here with the Shador, or where do you think they may go here?
If they go offense, it won't be for quarterback. I think if they want offense, they got to choose a real receiver. I like that kid from Arizona. I forget his name, but he's tall. He reminds me of Mike Evans. He's 6'4" and change. He's not with the small one from Texas. That's Golden. I forget. I know him. The other guy, I forget his name, but that's the one I think if they go offense. If they go defense, because they already have a running back, the Raiders might luck out, Gary. You might get jaunty. But if they go...
Well, Cleveland went defense. They picked defensive tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan, 2-time first 10. So basically, well, again, I guess they're saying, okay, let's build around our strength, and hopefully they can, and again, trying to get into the head of their GM. They want to, build defensively. Yeah, I know. They want to build defensive. And look, at this point in time right now, when a lot of these teams who are up now, they've got multiple needs. They've got, and you're not, with a draft, and I think it gets lost because we get so caught up in in the first round night. The real, the real fun nature of the draft will be tomorrow when you see future Hall of Famers and future Pro Bowlers. Now, yes, a lot of these kids that are going to be picked tonight are, there could be some Hall of Famers out here. There definitely could be some Pro Bowlers or what have you. But you build your team. Teams are built in day 2 and day 3 of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And as important as tonight is, and again, tonight's more ceremonial than anything else, but the real draft where you really see where teams are literally being built is tomorrow night and Saturday afternoon. So it'll be, while tonight's fun, if you're really a draftnik, as folks like to be, you're going to be there, watching tomorrow night and Saturday morning / afternoon.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So the Browns got somebody for the pit, somebody to help out Myles Garrett to do the dirty work, play traffic cop, because that's basically what Graham should be doing, to free up Garrett to create even more havoc.
Right.
Sometimes people forget you can't get everybody to do one set job the same way. The Purple People Eaters back in the day were a perfect example. Carl Eller did most of the bull rushing. Jim Marshall had the technique. Gary Larson was the traffic cop. And who was the third guy? Who was the other guy? Page.
Alan Page, the beast.
Yeah. So now we got to have secondary roles filled on the D line. Who does this when the other one does that? It's not just all the time who can stunt off the other guy. There got to be defined roles in order for a unit to operate as one. Everybody's got to know what the other guy's doing, and that just makes an effective defensive front. Same way an offensive front has to be effective.
I got to ask you guys: is there ever gonna be another purple people eaters or doomsday defense or no name? I don't think ever again.
Well, I think so because remember, like I was saying earlier, everything is pre-dedicated off of speed now. But just as much as you need those speed guys that can catch the ball and run the ball, you have to have fast guys and burly guys on the other side of the line. If the thing is, as much as we know it's such an offensive league, you still have to occasionally tackle somebody at some point. You still have to be, you have to be able to do it. Okay, Raiders go with Ashton Jeanty from Boise State.
Gary,
with their number 6 pick.
Black and silver.
You got your running
That's a
back.
nice pick. I like that pick. I mean, I know they got Jacobs back there, but
No, they don't.
Oh, that's right. I'm thinking. That's right. He was the Green Bay. That's right. I stand corrected.
No. So Geno Smith has another weapon, and Ashton Jeanty reminds me a lot of Cliff Daniels. Somebody who does a lot of things well. He can catch the ball well. He can block decent. He doesn't show out as much as he just doesn't do anything wrong. He's running back with very few mistakes in him. And that's why I like the kid. The Raiders made a good pick. Good one for you, Gary. Now you got Geno Smith. Hand it off to Jeanty in the backfield.
Yeah, this guy is very bad, very quick. he hit the line very quick. So it's gonna be interesting to watch.
This is I like it. I like it a lot. This I'm gonna come right out and say it. I think the Raiders are a playoff team. I think
They
the
just
Raiders are
might
a playoff team.
Not
Yeah.
yet. Not yet.
They just might be.
I don't think ready yet.
And Geno
Well,
Smith, I don't know if he's going to be the second coming of the Mad Bomber, but at least he's got Brooke Bowers, Jonathan in the backfield. I think
Yeah.
Jacoby Myers is one of the wideouts. They have to start putting out an attack mode type of offense. Raiders don't sound like Raiders unless they're raiding. And this
well, the reason why put it this way, the reason why I say they're a playoff team, call me crazy. I think because you got Carroll back there, and
That's
you
right.
know he's committed. You know he's going to be committed for Geno. They went
Yep.
out. They went out and got a running back.
Yep.
I'm guessing Gary. They still probably got some offensive line issues as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is, to me, there's a lot of flux in that division. I know a lot of people are high on Denver after getting in, but see, I could see I could see three teams. Of course, Kansas City is still the team to beat, but I could see three teams getting in there because personally, the myth of the Chargers has been blown as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. Mhm.
And it's a sort of thing where their defense has been carrying them for years. Their defense has truly been carrying them for years. And now, if they get just a little sliver of offense, I think they can be okay. I'm anxious to see how they'll probably have a little. I'm not gonna say it easy because they'll probably have a nice schedule, considering they're coming off or whatever. Yeah, these guys are these guys are styling and all that other stuff. But no, he gets to stay in the West Coast, basically. Not so this I think it's a nice pick. I think it's a real nice pick. Jets are now the next team up for the number 7. And look, we could do an hour just on Jet.
You read my mind because I was thinking back to '99, and of course, everybody thought that the Eagles were going to take Ricky Williams with the second pick. Fortunately, the Cleveland Browns were there, the dumb fucks, and they took Tim Couch, opening the door for McNabb, who only turned out to be Philly's best quarterback ever.
Yeah.
And of course, the Philly people booed the draft pick. They booed them. We're there. I was there with my Asian colleague Tak Makita, and Tony was there. And then, of course, when the Jets came up, we were like, "Oh, now what?" Because the Jets, everybody knows who the Jets are going to pick. Jets, Jets. And what did they do?
Yeah.
They picked a fucking tight end named Kyle Brady.
Yeah.
And they were like, Jets, suck.
But they wanted Sapp. Wasn't that the draft that Sapp was available?
Yes, they wanted Sapp and they sucked.
Yeah. There's a. It's either NFL Films. I think it's NFL Films where they have a segment just on Jets picks, and it's hilarious to watch. It's hilarious to watch their fans, especially. Well, the Kyle Brady one. There's a guy in a white shirt. I see him as vivid as day.
Yeah,
he's literally like smiling before they pick, and then they say Kyle Brady, and he covers his mouth and like, oh no. I mean, it was like JFK at the grassy knoll when he with the look that he gave when they picked him, and they Roger Vick and Blair Thomas who wind up being one. Now Mike Haight is the other one, of course,
I remember that.
Jeff Lagerman.
Yep. The Brickishaw Ferguson, but he was very good. He played well for them.
Brickishaw Ferguson was good. Very, very good. Matter of fact, you go back to some of their some of the drafts back in the day.
Marvin Powell was also a good pick.
Marvin Powell and Chris Ward were there for 100 years. That was, they built those teams. Those teams in those early teams in the 80s with Michaels and then with Walton, that those guys were building blocks for them. Now, and probably one of their lesser picks, Joe Fields was there forever. He was the center for those teams. But it's very interesting. Again, Jets, need a bunch of things. I'm guessing they won't go for a quarterback because
help.
Yeah, really. really. It's a sort of thing where I loved going to the draft just to hear the Jets fans boo. I think I think what the Jets fans usually do is they go to LaGuardia and they boo bad plane landings. That's how sick they are now.
I actually missed that. I was looking forward to the Jets fans every year when it was here in New York. Used to crack me up. And then, of course, you had a sugar rush because you were high on M&Ms and potato chips and soda from the machines, which were always full. I mean, my daughter Debbie would have killed for one of those damn Coke machines. But the bottom line, sit down.
The Jets go with a tackle from Missouri, Armand Bembo.
Oh, that was a good one.
I heard this guy.
Oh, he was a good pick. They were talking about him a lot. I saw some film. He was decent.
Right tackle.
Yeah, the Jets usually don't fuck it up with offensive linemen, so that's not a bad pick. We'll go with that. They say they got by. But the drama is going to start now. They're going in 7 picks already, 8 teams. It's less than an hour. They're really flying, actually.
Yeah. This is good. Yeah, for because usually this thing goes on longer than the first half of Gone with the Wind.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
It takes a. We're gonna hang out for one more pick, and then we're gonna call it a night. And it's gonna be the Panthers coming up at 8. Now, I think it's safe to say that now that he's gotten his feet wet a little bit and everything, that I think Bryce Young will be okay. Now it's going to be a thing of how much they're going to really build around him. Now again, they've even gone away from what made their, even in the bad old days with the Panthers, they always had a pretty decent defense. Yes. But last 2 years, it's bottomed out where they're leaking. Their defense has been leaking like the Titanic the last couple of years. But again, you'd also like to see them get Young some more weapons. So now, are we all still now? I'll ask the both of y'all: are we sold on Young, or we still think that he's still got more to do, more to learn?
I would say we're sold on. I would say I'm sold on Young. He's caught up to the speed. One thing I noticed in the movie, Any Given Sunday, they gave you hints of just how fast the game was. That if you did things at a certain speed, if you weren't fast enough, it was going to lead to a mistake. And that's what it seems like Young's first year and a half is like. But now, from the second part of last season, it seems like he's caught up. He's in rhythm, and now we should see the kind of progression one would see from a quarterback in their 3rd year.
Absolutely. To piggyback on the Stone movie, that first sequence when Willie Beeman comes in
to relieve the veteran quarterback. I love the way that they shot it because it showed you literally and figuratively the speed
Exactly.
it showed you the speed of the game. It showed you just how the adjustment that you definitely have to make. Before
Yep.
we get out of here, we got Patrick Faraz joining us now. Patrick, thanks for joining us here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, folks. I was late.
that-
I had
What's
to
up, bro?
I had to chronicle some stuff before I got on, and when they made the trip, the pick, and the Browns went to 5, I had to take some notes before I got it in.
Absolutely, I
I'm not.
understand. What you think of the pick? What you think of the pick?
I'm not enthused about it. I know the kid Graham's good, but come on,
He's from that school of state.
that don't get me started. The kid's good, but who I want is the kid Melrose from Alabama. That's who I want.
Unfortunately, you actually got an outside shot to get him in the second round.
I tell you, know something. Don't be surprised. I hate to say it, but don't be surprised if he goes to Pittsburgh. Do not be surprised.
Then you get
That's not a bad. That wouldn't be a bad. That wouldn't be a bad pick either. That wouldn't be a bad pick either.
And by the way, you mentioned the Mike. You mentioned the draft in New York where they picked. You just mentioned it.
Cal Brady, the Jets.
Cal Brady. Yeah. You know, there's a picture when the Eagles made that pick. You know, they went. I'm in that picture perpetually. I got my mic up to the Jets fans, up to Eagles fans. Says you got a great pick. We picked, Tim Couch. Lord have mercy. So, but I'm in the picture. I'm going every time I see him. Going there I am again. Yeah, but I'm happy that Abdul Carter went to with the Giants.
That's a good pick.
And I should say the pick that they got, that the Jets got, that young man is good. That's a great pick. That's a great pick.
Well,
I mean,
the Jets have always been decent with offensive line.
Yes. Even though I thought they were going to get the kid from Penn State. Because I think he can open the offense more, but hey, they want to protect Justin Fields. I'm not mad at all. He's a big dude too.
Yeah,
he can step right in.
Yeah. We were talking about that, when back in the day with Marvin Powell and Chris Ward, Brickishaw Ferguson. Yeah.
Stalwarts.
And you know what? Even for all the hell we gave Mike Haight had a pretty decent, if not spectacular career.
Yes. They've done well when they picked the linemen. It's anything everybody else got problems with. So
exactly. Now, before we let you go, I know you said you like Milroe. Do you think they'll pick a quarterback in this round at all? Or
and I'm totally. I don't know where they're going now. I got all these notes. I wrote down stuff. I'm going, what? I have no idea. But you know something? I will say this. Expect at least 3 more trades in this first round. It's coming up.
Yeah. And by the way, Tetero McMillan from Arizona, wide receiver, goes to Carolina. So they're giving Young another weapon.
He's good.
Very good.
He's good.
Yeah.
He's good.
Size and speed.
He's good.
Yes, that's what I was talking about. I don't know why I couldn't think of his name when the time came up, but that's exactly what somebody like Young needs, especially small quarterback.
And just so very quickly, guys, I'm glad they stuck with Young because that young man can play. He can play. But it's hard playing in the back and you're running for your life.
You got that right.
Yeah.
They beat him down to
it was funny, Mike, because I don't know how early you got on, but we were talking about the movie Any Given Sunday.
Yes.
And especially, that first scene when Beeman comes in And he, you know, I love the way Stone depicted the speed of the game, and that literally was Young that first year. You know, trying to get used to the
Step
speed
behind. Yeah.
and everything in regard to that.
And Tony, a good thing about that, you know something? Two of my guys, I know two guys that were in the movie. One I grew up here in Jersey with, because he played in Florida A&M. The reason why I picture went so well, he took the input of the players to make it happen. He wasn't just scamming it or getting suggestions. He got the players' input, and you said it looked like a real game.
I have, you know, I'll say this much. You know, when I know I did a thing about 20 years ago, my favorite my top 10 football movies. I would
Yep.
definitely put Any Given Sunday in there now. Strictly just because of the way he depicted the speed of the game and the intensity. And you know, they were a little over the top with some of this off the field stuff,
Yeah,
but
but they have to do
for
that.
the most yeah, but yeah, again, yeah, you know, it's Hollywood. You know, they're not going. You know, they're not going to just completely whatever.
And Tony, quite frankly, I got to say, draft day with the Browns organization, that was pretty close to what's going on too.
Yeah.
That was a good.
Yeah,
That wasn't bad.
yeah. They did do a job. Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did. They definitely. I don't know. I guess maybe because it was Kevin Costner, I just kept thinking he was gonna, you know, grab a bat and hit somebody at
Back
some
into
point.
the left. Back into the left.
That's cold, man. That's cold.
I know. But no, they did. You know, they did. You know, I think they did capture it. I think they really. I think they really did capture it because, you know, there's a lot of, you know, we don't know all the MFN and all the other stuff that's going on.
Yes.
in them rooms, man. And as we all know, you know, being, you know, covering the draft and following the draft over the years, while, you know, opening night is what it is, the real draft starts, you know, tomorrow and Saturday.
Yes.
This is where teams literally and figuratively get built over the next couple of days.
And quite frankly, Tony and Mike, when we were there, you know, we all got, the last time we were there, we had a kind of a robe with ourselves in the cafeteria and in the garden. We put some spice in that bad boy.
Yeah,
No doubt.
Yeah.
They were saying, who these Negroes? They want to say something else, but we know what they were saying.
Exactly. It's you know what, that, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it is cool the way that they go to the different cities, but I really do miss going to the draft like we did as a group. You know, that was fun.
I missed the phone.
That's two of us. I understand the economic impact it's done to the league, and also I must admit, even though I'm with you, Tony, 150% going to the draft here in New York, but other cities get to enjoy that and do well for their franchise. I mean, who would want to be in Green Bay this time of year? Outside of in Green Bay,
right? No, this is Green Bay.
There's people in Green Bay that don't want to be.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's people in Green Bay that don't want to be in Green Bay tonight. So you know.
Yes. So in that sense, whoever made that idea to push the commissioner is now vice president anyway. So what difference it makes?
Yeah.
Well, and next year it's going to be in Pittsburgh. So you could imagine, you know, put it this way.
God.
Put it this way. You better get yourself, if you do go to the draft, get yourself some Yinzer repellent because they're going to be all over the place.
Yeah, because the Browns are
there's going to be homeless people and rats and roaches wearing Steelers jerseys.
Oh, yes.
It's going to be.
Knowing the Browns and Steelers fans, they're thinking about fighting already.
Oh yeah. You know somebody.
I know.
When's the day going to be in Pittsburgh so I can go down there and you know, beat up on somebody? New Orleans pick is now in at number 9. Tackle Kelvin Banks Jr.
Yeah, big kid from Texas. Yes, he's a big boy.
That's fucked up. They had a clear window for Shedeur Sanders. I really thought this is where Shedeur was going to go.
Okay,
Yes.
and now Shador's gonna drop what? He'll drop 23, 24 watch.
Well,
Well,
he's
well,
mad, or he should be mad because, like I said, it's costing him money.
Yes,
He went from
yes.
third, predicted third, to at least 21. That's about 15 million down the drain.
and Mike, I agree with that 100%. But here's the flip side of that. I'd rather see him go to a team that believes in him so he can make something happen.
Yea, verily. I agree with that too.
I'd rather see that because
Yeah.
take Zach Wilson. He made all the money. Where's he at now? They got the quarterback. They should have picked the draft that Zach Wilson was in. So go somewhere where they want to and they want to support you, make it better.
I agree.
Sure. It's look again because it's the first round, because it's this prestige and whatever. You definitely, but you always, I think even we forget it. We got to look at the big picture. Got to look at the big picture overall. They tried to. Look. We all remember how they tried to bury Lamar
Yes,
on
yes,
opening
yes,
night, and
Stadium.
has he three
yes.
three MVPs later?
Yeah,
You know,
yep. So go where they want you.
yeah.
That's what
We're gonna do. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm glad that these brothers, forget all the predictions. Go where, guys. It's a 50-50 deal from its beginning. 50% is going to be right and 50% going wrong. The 50% wrong, that no matter how much money you get, if you're with the wrong team, you're not going to succeed.
Yep.
The other 50 is you get the right
Absolutely.
team, you can succeed, and then you can begin to build and have a future and get to
Don't
meet your
forget to
potential.
buy Mama a house.
Oh, yeah,
Exactly.
buy Mama a house. Yeah.
Don't forget to buy. You better buy
Wait.
Mama the house.
And
I remember that lineman who got drafted by Tennessee, and this big white girl.
Oh.
Put her hands on him like,
Oh, Lord. Oh, that's
all
classic.
right. And
That was
if she knocked over Big Mama, she should have
And
whipped
she
her
hasn't been seen.
ass.
And she hasn't been seen since.
Thank you very much. Never again. Never again. I'm looking for Becky in a minute. Oh, by the way, fellas,
Well,
just before we get out of here, just a quick comment. I'm sorry to hear about Shannon. I think Shannon's
You
leaving the
beat me
show.
to it.
I'm sorry to hear about that. I mean, come on, man. Shannon, $100 million deal.
But what is he doing?
Oh God! I mean, it just goes to show, I don't know.
see, that's the kind of stuff that just makes people just stay in the house forever.
Patrick, open the door. I'll close it. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Shannon, you stupid motherfucker. I remember watching the game that day on CBS. I think Esiason and Dan Marino. I remember the look on Dan Marino's face. Somebody said something out of the way, and Shannon went off. And that's when the world discovered he had a voice, because Dan Marino was looking at him like, "Please don't hit me, Mr. Sharp." And Boomer Esiason was like, "Shit," because he got caught. Shannon busted him, and I thought, well, this was refreshing. Shannon was spitting out truth, and I was hoping that he was going to do well, and he was doing well, and really at the present he is doing well, but, and there's always a but.
A lot of it.
A lot of that but got him caught up. He was feeling too much of himself.
Yes, it is.
No business.
That's what got all that feeling. That's what got him in trouble in the first place.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
And the words of my daddy, I keep telling you, words of my daddy. I miss you, Pop. And Dad said this, boy, when it get to the point where you think your stuff don't stink, God got a way to make you smell it. And he's sniffing it big time.
You ain't never lied.
I thought I smelled something earlier today. So yeah.
$100 million. $100 million. Lord,
yeah. He settled out. Now I guess they settled out of court, but he's already put his way.
You know the folks at Bristol are already trying to find his replacement.
He's hard. He's hard.
I think that they might push up Spears. I think they might push up Spears more. What I said.
Yeah. He fits the mo. He fits. He's basically the football version of Kendrick Perkins, basically.
Yeah. That it fits that mode, and Kendrick's done very well for himself. So, by the way, are the Knicks winning tonight? Or are they losing? I don't know.
They are up 91-82 late in the third.
Okay. Yeah. They better take him out.
It's the fourth quarter. That's why we're gonna do the Bears pick and then I'm gonna call it a night because I can't do both. My head's killing me looking at the game and looking at the draft. Looking at the draft.
I ain't mad at you, bro. I ain't mad at you.
Oh yeah. It's it wouldn't be surprised if there's a seventh game here. I'll just say that. I'll just leave it at that.
And Gary, I looked at about 5 innings of your former A's 2 nights ago. So they don't look bad. They're playing a little better in the house.
They've got a semblance of talent. They've got a little bit. They just you got to look. You got to spend more than $1.25 on players.
There you go.
I mean, at least $5. $5.
Oh, so
for the Bears.
The Bears got the kid from the tight end from Michigan, who's pretty good. He's pretty good. He's pretty good.
Colson Loveland, tight end, number 10th overall for the. So now Caleb's got somebody else to throw to now.
Yep.
And hopefully he won't have to cry himself to sleep too much in his second year.
Oh God, please!
But it's the process. It's the process. Gentlemen, as always, I appreciate everybody's joining us here on a Thursday, and it was great to be able to, do a little bit of draft stuff tonight. Yeah. So for Gary, I think Gary went to go watch the Knicks game. So I'll be there in a minute, Gary. But for Michael Lewis Ingram, for Gary Norris Gray, and for Patrick Farrar, I'm Anthony McLean. Again, feel free to join us again next week. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are watching or listening. And as always, talk to you next week. Take care, guys.
Take care.
All right.